Hello, hello. Oh, let me turn down this volume a little bit. And actually, I should probably some other music. Anyway, hello. In the meantime, while I'm here and saying hello, I'll say hello. I don't know what. Hi. So this stream is going to be an interesting one. Um, in that we'll see. I don't know. So my goal for today, as you can see here, is to release Solid Shine UI 1.9.7. This is... If you've seen any of my previous coding streams, you know that I have been working on an update to this, which is called version 2.0. Specifically, we've been working on the ribbon in past streams. Version 2.0 is still a bit of a ways off, and so instead, I've diverted a bit of my time and attention to making this version, which will have at least a couple of updates and bug fixes and other little fun features for people to enjoy here and now. Yeah. But at this point, we're gonna wait a little bit. So there's a couple things that I'm gonna do first, and I was gonna put together a PowerPoint, but I kind of never got around to it, so whatever. Um, Maybe I'll just like do the basic thing and just like use Notepad or something, and just kind of write things down as I'm doing it. I don't know. Anyway, or maybe we'll use a Word document. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm kind of jumping all around. Why isn't this starting up? I think it is. It's just being slow. Oh, I think I made 3 of them. Oops. The music will come back shortly. Anyway, prior to doing that, though, I'm gonna do something else. Oh, great. Oh, no. Alright, I'm just gonna have to call this a bust for today. Because I don't feel like spending my time working on trying to figure out what is happening with this thing. Even though this works, I don't know what's different about getting this dialogue to work specifically, whereas the rest of the library kind of doesn't. Excellent. Um, okay. I'm gonna change colors. Let's select that. Ah. Okay. All right. Well, I tried. Is there, I wonder if there's maybe something. I can't think of anything else that I would need to do or change or update. Hmm. I don't know. Anyway, so let me explain some stuff, I guess. So, one of the big things that I did with version 1.9.7 is I added on support for older versions of .NET Framework. I'm actually going to make a new PowerPoint to display this. So, in the world of .NET, there is two .NET things that are currently out there right now. There's more. There's actually more than just two, but for our purposes, all I'm caring about is two. .NET Framework and .NET. .NET Framework is... Oh, okay, that's fine. Windows, oops. Windows only. I turn it off, yeah. Windows only, has been around since, like, when did it, like, 2003? Yeah. No longer actively being updated beyond some security fixes and patches. That is. Okay, that did not work. Sure. So that is .NET Framework. .NET, it is cross-platform, but only WPF. But WPF is Windows only. Newer supported Windows 7 as its earliest version of Windows. Okay. So, Solid Shine UI works for both .NET Framework and .NET. And so that includes both of these. But the biggest thing is that because it's built for WPF, which is a UI framework UI system that is what developers can use to actually build their UI. WPF is Windows only, so Solid Shine UI has always been only available for Windows. But .NET Framework, .NET Framework, oops. For the longest time, .NET Framework 4.7.2 was the earliest I supported for the longest time. But that only worked with Windows 7, Windows 8, maybe Vista? I don't think Vista, though. But yeah, it only worked with Windows 7 and later. But for Solid Shine UI 1.9.7, I'm going to move that down a little bit further. With 1.9.7, I've added support for .NET Framework 4.0, 4.5, 4.6, 6.2. Windows XP Vista later. And I'm gonna just boop, 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 boop. There we go. So, but out of the bat, yeah. So that's kind of visually explaining what is going on with that. So with 1.9.7, I added support for .NET 4.0. This in particular is a version that works with Windows XP. All of these, 4.5, 4.6.2, 4.7, etc., as well as the new .NET, don't work with Windows XP. Only some of these work with Vista. Most of these only work with Windows 7 or later. And in fact, .NET 7, which is this one, .NET 7, dropped support for Windows 7, which is kind of funny in a slightly ironic way with the version numbering. Also, it never... Oh, I think I know what happened. I need to make a test about that. Do. All right, now we're gonna have music playing. So anyway, that is what I was trying to do, was trying to test it working on Windows XP. The thing is, it doesn't work on Windows XP. No. It does not work with Windows XP at all. Because obviously, as you can see, oh, there's no strike-through option. Interesting. Okay. Well, then I'll just make this red. Boop. Yeah. Because all it displays is a black screen. Obviously, some elements show up. And if you kind of like, and everything is interactable with, so like you can still click on stuff and make stuff happen. Except the font dialog. So, what that means is that when I do the release of 1.9.7, I'm gonna have to specifically mention in there version 1.9.7 does not work with Windows XP. Added support for .NET Framework 4. However, trying to get it to work only renders a mostly black screen. And that's why the stream is actually a little bit, I started a little bit later with this stream, was because I was trying to see what I could try to do to get this to work. And it just was not doing the thing. So, yeah. So that's what I was trying to do, was trying to put it in a way to get it to work, and that did not happen. So I'll have to add a note about that on the release notes page. Something for 1.9.8? Question mark? I'm not sure if I'm gonna go ahead and make a 1.9.8 to specifically add on support for Windows XP. I will admit that I'm kind of disappointed. Because one of the reasons why I wanted to add on .NET Framework for support was so that I could get it to work with Windows XP. But that is not going to be the case. What's this? Because apparently I'm just using PowerPoint to show everything. So that is something I'm quite disappointed by. But that being said, obviously I'm gonna actually change this. There's gonna have that layout that I'm looking for, not in this particular version, I guess. Okay. Would I work on Windows XP support? Pros. I don't know. It's kind of cool. Allows me/others to provide programs with this UI on these older systems. I have the tools, i.e. Windows XP, to get this working with time. However, cons. Windows XP is an old, outdated OS that isn't really getting much use nowadays. The usage percentage is like really low. I can, at least in the United States, maybe in like other countries it might be a little bit different. Extra work, and who knows how much work, just for a vanity project rather than something useful. I guess that's kind of it. Who knows how much work it'll actually be to get it working. That's how you put that. Okay. So that's kind of my issue with Windows XP support for 1.9.8. To be honest, I went back and I added on support for these older versions of .NET Framework, primarily just because I thought it was fun to do, and I did want to get it working on Windows XP. Clearly, that latter goal was not met. But despite that, it does work on these other versions of .NET Framework. Beyond that, it just doesn't work on Windows XP, which is disappointing. But I shouldn't overlook the fact that I did get it to work on these older versions regardless. So there's that. So I did do a little bit of testing and doing stuff. That testing and doing stuff didn't actually do stuff. So, for now I'm gonna disable this because I don't want to add on extra random stuff. Okay. An attempt to get... Alright, let me show the screen actually. Also, so I realized something. My mind just went somewhere else. So obviously this is the code. But I realized that because I was watching a different streamer who I was actually kind of recently more inspired by. His name was Doug. It's a fun name and I quite like it. And he does a lot of like custom programming projects that he's done online and stuff like that. Primarily things in terms of interacting with his Twitch chat. And so, but one thing I kind of realized with his streams is that with the text being as small as it is, it's actually kind of hard to read from a just having this open on a streaming window, especially since the actual like actual coding window is even smaller because it's only a portion of the entire stream window here. Obviously that could be fixed by doing something like this, which, you know, is definitely an option. But having it this way allows me to do all this, show all this stuff down here and all this other stuff. So, I don't know. But I will, for future streams, coding streams, I will increase the text on this. But there are certain items that I can't increase the text for. What I'm doing here is I'm committing the code on this. I tried to get copy over SS sample over to Windows XP VM virtual machine, but SSUI sample didn't actually render correctly. It was mainly just a bunch of message dialogue, because somehow message dialogue, oops. It somehow didn't work for some reason. The entire OS. I tried. Okay. So for now I'll have to note that 1.9.7 does not work with Windows XP. Also changed the text in the dialogues test to a linked text block so that I can test the message dialogue. Okay. So there's that. Okay. So that was one test that I did that failed. Before we actually go ahead and get to releasing this version of Solid Shine UI 1.9.7, there are a couple of other coding things I'll need to do. So, I know it's probably hard to see, but in this little section down here, this lists a couple of problems, not really problems, but yeah, problems, I guess, that appeared while I was trying to put together Solid Shine UI 1.9.7, and so I would like to have these things not be present, and so I'm gonna have to make sure I go ahead and fix these. This will be a pretty quick and easy fix to do for both of these. And then there's one other smaller thing that I'll need to do before I can say that Solid Shine UI 1.9.7 is all set for release. Sure. So, there is one thing that I want to do, though, and I'm actually going to also copy this slide. Okay. So for now, we're going to actually... hide away this version, Windows XP, and instead we're gonna show. So obviously this did not work in Windows XP. So that brings up the next question. Will it work with Windows 7? And while Windows 7 is getting itself set up, I'm going to spend some time doing the little fixes that I mentioned here. Doop. So these are relatively minor things, and it's honestly not worth the amount of time to explain what's happening here. Because by the point that I explained all of it, it's already done. But essentially, I think I might have talked about this before in a previous coding stream. Newer versions of .NET, as in .NET, not .NET Framework, support a feature called nullability, which, in lack of better words, there's not the best way to describe it. It allows you to put in these question marks next to where you're storing some bits and pieces of data. And that question mark tells .NET and tells your code and other people's code and anyone that deals with it that there's a possibility that this thing here might just be straight up nothing. Like there might not actually be anything in this. This might just be a nothing. Without this, you didn't really have the idea of knowing like, okay, what is sender? Is sender an actual, like, is it a window? Is it a control? Is it actually something? Is it actually something there? And you couldn't really, you'd have to test to see if sender is not nothing by doing that. But now, in this way, I can tell in newer versions of .NET that by this question mark, I can tell you, just to let you know, there might be nothing here. This might be nothing. Whereas these that don't have a question mark at the end, that isn't like that, these are me telling you, just to let you know, this is not nothing. There is something here. This won't ever be nothing. Oops. Okay, not like it. Something about this is because this returns. Oh, that's why. If .NET Core app. So this is also another error in relation to that sort of thing. It may have image, in fact. If yes. Actually, new idea. There we go. So on newer versions, this could be null, but on older versions, not. There we go. This is actually a little bit overkill because I know for a fact that this won't return nothing. This won't be null because null only occurs if you tell it to return null. But at least this way, this is the proper way. The proper way to do it. Alright, so now let's commit this and put this online. Fix nullability errors with brush editor dialog. Fixed some error warnings. Easy download method in image brush editor dialog. Yay. So, now that means that if I do a new build of it now, you shouldn't see those messages appear, and it should just straight up say something. The frame rate. Okay. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so you see those messages that were there before are now not there, and now it's just telling me that, hey, all of this finished building properly. So yay, those are done. There's one other thing that I do need to do, because I told myself I need to do it. But for now, we have this little guy to test out. So, okay, so question though. What version of .NET do I have on this? At 4.8. Okay. Oh, the support. Okay. Fair enough then. That's fair. Okay, let's go to here, and then let's do a new folder, SSUI sample. And then my goal is to, it's gonna go black. Oh, never mind. All right. Let's see if this works. It's thinking. See what it's doing. It is running. It's probably the just-in-time compiler actually putting this together, because it's the first time that this OS has ever run this. Unfortunately, this makes it a bit slow, but I did not optimize my sample program for performance. But it is. Oh. 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 Haha. So, that does mean that version 4. That this does work on Windows 7 using .NET 4.0. And then, of course, if I were to actually put in, say, a newer version, the newer version would also work just as well. We'll call this 4.0. And then if I make SSUI sample 4.8, newer version will also work. And yeah. So at least I can sit here with confidence and tell you that version 4.0 does work on Windows 7. Hooray! Given that, I'm also assuming that it's gonna also work on Windows Vista, but I don't have a copy of Windows Vista to test with. So I couldn't really officially tell you. Yeah. It is okay, so random side tangent for a moment. It's weird to me how old Windows 7 feels now, despite the fact that it really, like, I mean, yes, it is actually pretty old, because it's like from 2009-ish, 2008, 2009, and was replaced with Windows 8 in 2012. And 2012 was a decade ago. It's hard to imagine, it was a decade ago. So this operating system, Windows 7, is well over a decade old. In fact, it's, I think, over 2 decades old. Isn't it? It might be. But despite that, it was only until recently, like 2 years ago, or like 2022, so last year, that the new .NET stopped supporting Windows 7. And I think we can actually still download updates for this particular version, .NET 6. In fact, it really was only through like post 2020 when we saw a large swath of programs dropping support for Windows 7. Because for the longest time... Hello, what is all of this? Okay. For the longest time, like, Windows 7 still had the newest versions of a lot of programs. You can still put them on here. It really was only until relatively recently, the past few years, that you couldn't. No, it's not 2 decades. Okay, it's like a decade, almost a decade and a half. It's just short. How old this operating system is, actually, like almost 15 years-ish. And so, yeah, for the longest time, people were still supporting a 10 years plus old operating system. But nowadays, but it's weird to me because it, like, now Windows 7 feels so old, because in comparison to like Windows 10 or Windows 11, which we have now, it just feels so much different and modern and just, I don't know, new. I mean, there's been so many multiple iterations of Windows since Windows 7, which makes it feel so particularly old. At the time, Windows 7 was pretty dang cool. I mean, Windows Vista actually also was, despite the public perception that it had. And in a lot of ways, like, Windows 7 still accomplishes a lot of the, like, it's still easy to use, easy to get around, easy to do stuff, but yet it still feels so old. I don't know. Maybe that's just me talking, maybe that's just how I feel, maybe others don't feel the same way. But yeah. Anyway, so now we have confirmed this works on Windows 7. Hooray. Cool. So we're actually going to shut this particular version down. Alright. So then allow me to see... Okay. Okay. So, there's one last big thing to do. And until we actually officially push the button and go ahead with the Windows 7 release. Or excuse me, Windows 7 release. 1.9.7 release. This is... Okay. Oh. Okay. So, a big thing to note is that prior to every single release that I do, I spend some time sitting down and putting together a big proper changelog and listing all the things that I've done or updated, and putting together like a little bit of like friendly text like, hey, how's it going? This is what this release is, type of thing. This one I have a couple extra little bits in here too. In fact, I should probably finish filling in this section. But yeah, I mean, in my perception, I really like the idea of putting together a proper full-on changelog. There are tools out there now, especially tools that GitHub has, where it can just automatically just spit out a list of changes that have been made since prior to this release or something like that. I don't like that particularly very much because the list can sometimes be fairly lengthy and lacking in detail and lacking in context. Whereas I like building my own changelog because here I've written down, this is specifically the things that I've added, this is specifically why this is here and what you can do with it, and some other little bits and pieces or things like that. And I'll actually add on a note here. Note that for some reason SSUI may or may not work with Windows XP. If you do wish to use Solid Shine UI on .NET Framework or on Windows XP, avoid using a flat window. Other controls . Property list or any other dialogues. Controls should work just fine. Okay. Quite right with Windows XP. Okay. Anyway, so there is that. Boop. Okay. I suppose actually this is pretty small. Maybe I can show larger text on this too. Anyway, so this is the actual changelog here. And I can actually properly see it, where I talk about this is each individual item that I have added on, and I've added a note here about Windows XP. And I like doing this primarily because, one, it does allow me to add on these extra details telling you about like things to watch out for, or things that have changed, or why I did X thing, or what X thing does, rather than just a basic added on X. And it also is just a fun way for me to just kind of go back through everything that I've done and remind myself like, hey, yeah, I did make progress on this. I did make this better. I did do this. It's just kind of nice to just have that like review in a sense of like, oh yeah, I'm accomplished something with this. This is the list of things that I have accomplished. So, I quite like it. And I quite like doing that, I should say. But I feel like a lot of other developers don't like putting the time and effort into this, because spending the time to sit here and write out all of this is time that they're spending not working on code, not doing other stuff that they would enjoy more. But I like this just as much. Okay, so obviously, as you can see here, I'll have to zoom in again. I made for myself a little note because I was worried that I might forget. I did not actually forget, but I made myself a note anyway, because there is one other change I do need to make to the code before we can actually do the release. And that is to look at property list event XML comments and the XML comments of property list event args, which is a lot of words which probably doesn't make too much sense at the offset. But it's something that I noticed I've done, which has been kind of, I don't want to say problematic, but it's just been kind of bad. Up here. Here. So, I've mentioned in previous coding streams that this little section with like the 3 slashes and then this sort of stuff, this is a baked in feature into C#, into .NET, that allows me to describe, hey, this is what this little piece of code does when you actually interact with it or run it or do something with it. This is what it does. These are some notes about it, etc. Again, I like having notes. This is, in a sense, like documentation, like in the code documentation. And in fact, this documentation in question has actually is directly pulled when I do a release and is put into the actual documentation pages on my website. Not on my website, but on here. And so I'll show you the problem. So like I said, that little section, those are all the documentation bits and pieces. And if you don't have proper documentation, you can be leaving people confused as to what a certain thing actually does. And so if you scroll down, why is it not here? Methods, public methods, internal methods, public static methods. Does this not display events? That would be a little bit concerning if it doesn't. It doesn't seem to display events. It does. Oh, it's just in its own little section. Okay. Yeah, so this is loaded object change is the name of the event in particular in question. Raised when the currently loaded or observed object in the property list control changes. That part is fine. Remarks. This is also raised when the reload object. What? When the reload objects ... What? If you were smart and knowledgeable about code, you would excuse me. Let me rephrase it. Other C# developers might be able to infer that what I mean here is that this also is raised when you run the reload object command, but it might not be particularly clear. I'm gonna actually do here is change this when object is called. Although in that case, property list object event args is reload is set to boom. Now I've actually properly finished the sentence. This is also raised when reload object is called. Although in that case, reload is set to true. That is what I meant to say. That is the way that I finished that sentence. So, that's been kind of an issue I realized when I was putting together, like, working on version 2.0 and looking over the property list, is that there's a number of things that I just kind of started writing documentation for, and then just kind of, like, didn't ever finish. So that is not great. But at least I caught it now before we actually did the release. Because if I caught it after the release, that would be even more embarrassing. So now there is something in one of these. I'm not exactly sure where. That is also lacking. I think it is with this. Yep. Good if this event was triggered by reloading the current object rather than loading in the new object. There we go. So now I get to mark that, fix XML comments with reload, with object loaded. Goodness. Loaded object changed event. All of that is done. Hooray. Now there's actually one other major thing I'm going to do. I'm going to change this 4.6.2 to 4.6.1. Oh. Let's see if that works out. Or if it's in the yellow. Low frame rate incoming. It works just fine. Okay. So, that way I'm just gonna do that rather than 1.6.2. Okay. So yeah, as I previously talked about in that one presentation, one of the big things with this new version of Solid Shine UI is the fact that I've added on support for these older versions of .NET Framework. And the other reason, actually one of the big reasons why I decided to make this release was actually to add support for the newest version of .NET, which is .NET 8. And so we're going a little bit further forward with supporting the newest thing, and also going a bit backwards with supporting some older stuff, which I think is fun. And surprisingly, it actually wasn't that hard to do to support 4.5 and 4.6.1. 4.6.1 it was a little bit of effort, but it was just mainly fixing a couple of things. It was actually pretty quick. 4.5 was a little bit more effort, but again, it was actually only one thing with the font select dialog that I had to change. And then that was fine. The big issue was getting .NET Framework 4 to work. And I suspect what I had to do to get this to work is why this doesn't work on Windows XP. The big thing to note about Solid Shine UI, my UI library, I'll run it and you will see is that obviously the window isn't exactly like a standard .NET window. Let me try to isn't like a standard .NET window where it doesn't, a standard Windows window where it has like the actual the Windows style caption buttons and things like that. That's actually not the best example. But obviously, so I've created my own caption buttons. I've set this so I can make it my own color and do whatever I want with that. But the system that I used to make that happen isn't present out of the box in .NET Framework 4. So, for Framework 4, I had to be a bit more creative. And luckily I did have the tools I need just by chance in order to make it work with .NET Framework 4, which is a special library chunk of code that Microsoft had put out years ago that allows it to work. But I think that because I was using that particular thing, specifically with Framework 4, that breaks it with Windows XP. I'm thinking. Specific to 4.6.2. That includes me from using that in place of 4.6.1. So I'll just do that. That being said, there is a difference, I believe, between 4.6.1 and 4.6. I'm not going to try to do that to let you show off right now, but I believe there is a difference in between those two statuses. Boop. Okay. So, now I think we've accomplished everything that we need to do to actually get the code set up and ready to go out the door. I have done a bunch of bug testing. That is actually what I had been doing in the past like 2 or so weeks. That's the reason why this hadn't come out thus far, even though a majority of the work was done, was because I wanted to make sure that I did as much bug testing as possible. But clearly I mainly only did bug testing on Windows 10 and Windows 11 and not going back to older versions of the OS. If I had known that, then I probably would have spent more time working on getting it to work with Windows XP before this release today. But I don't want to delay this release any further. This was supposed to come out 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it working on .NET Framework 4 on Windows 7 and Windows 11 and Windows 10 is enough for me. I'm not going to be upset about that. I'd love for it to also work on Windows XP, but it's not in the cards today. So I did a lot of this testing and messing around and doing stuff, especially working with high contrast themes, which is a thing that is important to work on and implement and have present. Is to have high contrast themes, because I like having the ability to providing this accessibility option to people who might need it. With the high contrast thing, it's primarily built for being a major high contrast, in fact, between the text and the stuff that you're primarily going to interact with up front. So, and that in the background underneath. So the text here is white, the background is black. That's about as high of a contrast as you can get. And so it's a lot easier to see the white text on top of the black background than it would have been if you had done some other ones. I mean, this is still fairly readable and visible. This up here with the menu bar is maybe a little bit more questionable, and just kind of like this top area in general. But for those of us with good enough vision, this is still fairly readable. I suspect this is probably, this background section here and over here is probably also maybe good enough for those who need vision assistance. But with high contrast, that's kind of a built-in assurance that you're not gonna encounter situations where you might not actually have good visibility. That being said, my high contrast white on black theme isn't exactly perfect. As you can kind of see, it says white text on the blue highlight, and it's kind of pretty hard to read, especially over here, my goodness. But that's unfortunately a limitation with my own system as it is right now, and that is something I'm going to be addressing in the future. But my other themes, which is green on black, I think is better at this. And then the last one is black on white, which I think is also pretty better. And I would say that black on white is probably my favorite just because, I don't know, I like the lighter theme more, I guess. But I also like green on black. It's actually kind of cool. Feels like stereotypical, nerdy, computery. Ooh, techie. I guess that's the word, techie. But either way, I'm gonna change this to a proper color. Yeah. So I had previously done already all of the bug testing for this. And like I said, the high contrast themes was the biggest thing that I needed to do a little bit more fixing on as I went along. And that was pretty okay. At least as far as I could get with how things are built right now. So right now I'm confident that I have a pretty solid and good to go, ready to be release. And so we're gonna actually now do that. added on an accent color by default. And accent. This way you can see out of the box that my library supports using an accent color. Was hard to notice after. Let's do it. So, with this, we're now getting ready to do the release. As you can see here, I'm changing the version numbers from 1.9.6 to 1.9.7, and I've also added on a little mini release notes thing that's going to be stored online when I do the release. And yeah, at this point, this is pretty much all set to go. I believe, at least. So, I would say I'm pretty good with that. And we can get going. Update version 2.1.9.7 release time. Now it is time to release 1.9.7. Yay! So that actually I'm going to do this build first. Last minute sanity check just to make sure it's actually doing okay. Alright, we have success. Alright. So now it is time to get this up and going and out the door. So, to do the actual release. Honestly, the hardest part is not actually doing a release itself, because in Visual Studio it's really mainly a matter of changing this section up here where it says debug and changing it to release. This is now going to be release mode. We're going to be making a release. We wait a moment. And yeah. So now all of this has been released. That's not true. But all of this, the release thing, the ad thing that'll actually go out to people is now done. If I were to go to every single one of these individual folders, which I will do, bam, right there. That's the release right there. Somebody could take this and then put it right into their program and start using it. So that part actually isn't the hardest part to do, is actually building the release on your computer. Once that's done, then it's done. No, the actual hardest part to do is everything else that kind of comes after that. So this part actually isn't that hard to do either. So what this is called a NuGet package. NuGet is basically a website where people can upload C# code, and then other people can take that C# code that you've uploaded oh no. Oh dear. Okay, it's not actually gonna work. Oof. So then, NuGet.org. So up here, yeah, you can see all of these other things that other people have uploaded. So for example, something about Bluetooth. If you're looking for some Bluetooth code to add to your computer, here's some options right here. Probably Shiny I'd go with, depending upon, I guess, what you're doing with it. This okay. Yeah, that's another thing. Or if you need something that works with what's the thing? Oh, or in the hand. That's actually something I've used in the past. Is in the hand, and it actually works pretty well. Anyway, what is a different type of package? Something to do with, say, authentication. Oh, specifically Facebook. Let's do Facebook. Here you can get the Facebook SDK. That way you can actually connect to Facebook if you wanted to I don't know, interact with Facebook with your program, such as like downloading the posts on your wall or something like that. There's also, this is what this package is interacting with Facebook directly. This one here is actually, if you have a website that you built with C# and ASP.NET, this one gives you the option to add on a login with Facebook option. And this is something similar to that, but kind of more advanced. I don't know what any of this stuff beyond this is. This is a lot. Anyway, but you can find code to interact with a lot of the things that you need from here. So like Google's YouTube API, you have that right here. Excellent. Or if you have a more illicit, not illicit, but like something that Google itself might not be happy about you doing, it is allowing you to download things. Or actually this one here, YouTube Extractor. But yeah, so NuGet is basically the place that you can go for C# to download any bits of code that you want to add on to your program that other people have made. And generally, most of this stuff is open source. There are some exceptions. It doesn't have to be open source. But a lot of the stuff that ends up in NuGet, I would say a pretty large percentage, probably is open source code as well, which is also awesome, because it means that if there is code that you find and you like, or you want to tweak or whatever, more often than not, you're able to do that. And so, of course, my library, Solid Shine UI, is also present here. And so out of the box, this supports all of these things. Yeah. Where's all of that? I haven't signed in, so let me sign in actually. I'm not sure why I'm not signed in, but I guess I'm not. Oh, alright. No, yeah. So now, to actually upload a new release up to Solid Shine UI on NuGet, obviously right now we're at 1.9.6, but I can just do an upload right here. And on my computer, automatically out of the box, we already have 1.9.7's release already ready to go. It has all the images, it has all the actual versions, but somebody needs to get this going. Oh, it's because this is actually supported right here. Okay. Oh, wait. One more thing that I need to add on. I'm glad that I noticed this here and now. Excellent. That's something I'm gonna have to make a note for myself for the future versions of 1.1.x. Make sure to include Microsoft Windows shall include 4.0 NuGets. There we go. So that is actually something that specifically .NET 4.0, .NET Framework 4.0 is going to need is this. That all these other later versions do not need, as I explained earlier on. But now that is all set to go, why is this saying this is not good? Am I looking at the release? No, I am looking at the release version. What is going on? What is the problem? Is it because I included this? Oh my gosh. It is. Ooh, Question. I don't think this is up here. Oh. What is this? Oh. This is some other person's mirror of this. Okay. That's not what I'm here. And clearly I think this is the same guy again. What is this? Okay. That's fun. So, technically, I mean, so here's the fun thing about this, is that the, thing that I'm looking at, the thing that we're doing here, the Microsoft Windows shell, This is something that Microsoft themselves put out years ago, but basically years and years and years ago. But at this point now, it is pretty much impossible to find, except for other people uploading their own versions like they've done as we see now. Thing is, because I tested this on this thing that I have in the box with me, rather than the one that that I downloaded from on here, I don't know if these work. These probably do, because I'm imagining that these are probably just the exact same things, just kind of pulled in to excuse me. Here. Actually, one question I have is this version 1.1? It says version 3.0. Okay. Okay. So the thing is, because I've not tested these, I don't want to go ahead and change it to using these, but also if I add this back in, it tells me that the source link stuff is not good. I do need this. Now it is telling me it's missing symbols and missing all this stuff. What can I do? I'd rather not mess with things where I don't know what to do. So here's what I'm gonna try to do quick. NuGet source link. Is there a way that I can myself in a bit of a journey. I'm sorry about this. Boop. Boop. That is. That's the debugging. Is that the symbol? No. Because symbols, I think, is... Well, let me check. No, because it's talking about this, I think. I'm pretty dang sure I don't have that. Because if I add that in... Okay. You know what? I might say that's good enough. Deterministic is kind of the biggest thing I was really looking for. So if it has that, then I won't be that upset. I'm also going to copy this into here. Yep, not right now. That'll be something the same in the future. Okay. I'll take it, I guess. What I'll be curious to see is if... Actually, I'll need to make sure I make a note of that too. Also, make sure PDB file for the DLL is included too. Luckily, because 2.0 I won't be supporting .NET Framework 4, I won't have that issue in version 2.0. I only have that issue specifically right now. I don't know why I randomly have that specifically right there. And nowhere else, and nowhere other time. Let me actually try to delve further into it. That's not it. Shine's code. Nope, that's something else. Why did I call it backups? I don't think it's in this. I think it's in this version of UI. Which was called Flatland. And it's never okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. Is I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna search for Microsoft. What is it called? It is. What is this? Okay, I guess that's where I got that from. I guess somehow I found it online on NuGet. That's actually where I got it from, I guess. I guess that answers where I got it from myself. So I have the PDB files and I have the DLL files. Don't, however, have the XML file, which is what it is actually looking for. But that's okay. Alright. I'll take that as it is. Okay. So, now that we've finished with that random excursion, my goodness. Always something that pops up at the end when it comes to actually trying to make a release, I suppose. Gonna open this up, double check, this is fine. We have the elements we need here, perfect. Boop. Also, fun fact, I'm going to be updating this icon. I actually don't like this icon anymore. It's way too cluttered. It probably was never good to begin with, but I built it as an idea to like kind of showcase the various controls that I have in the thing. So it's like in roll flat window, and it has the select panel, it has a number spinner, a menu button, 2 flat buttons, a checkbox. But for the future, I'm going to use something a bit more abstract than this. Okay. All right. That's not true for this particular version, but I'm not gonna go through bothering trying to fix it. Alright, submit. So, once this is properly gone through, that means that this is now set and ready to go. We're set with that. Should actually double check to make sure. Excellent, yes. So now we actually get to there. So now the next fun thing that we get to do is time to build a new release. 7, it is 1.9.7. That is the name. Sure. Alright. So here's the automatic thing. It's not even actually anything notable. Anyway. So So yeah, you're able to like make automatic release notes that GitHub offers you the way to do it. Because the way that I build my program, it doesn't work for me anyway. But all that does is, like I said before, just a list of static, like a basic list of things that have changed. Rather than the actual put together, here is an actual proper list type deal that I personally like doing more. Anyway, so now we get to have some fun with putting this release on to GitHub. I feel also uncomfortable with that. Cool. So in order to transfer everything over to GitHub, I actually have to use Word as like an intermediary, because if I just copy all the text and put it into GitHub, what happens is it takes all the text and uploads it as an image. So, and that's because of how OneNote handles its clipboard handling, which is fine, but GitHub goes after the image first rather than going after the text that OneNote also puts on there. But whatever, we're fine. So instead, what I have to do is copy everything from OneNote, paste it into Word, copy everything out of Word, actually by using that copy button, and then paste it into GitHub. A little annoying, but it's okay. So, well, let's read through what I actually wrote down for these notes, because I didn't actually read any of them out loud yet. Hello! Wasn't expecting another one of these 1.9.x releases, were you? Me neither. Wasn't. So, here's the rundown. I have an internal list of items that I want to achieve for version 2.0, which I think I've shown off in the past. The list is locked in to prevent feature creep, which I've been known to do. See 1.9.5's release notes, which I'm actually going to put into here. But I'm not going to be able to accomplish all the things on that list for November. Clearly, we're already in December now, and I still have a decent bit more to do. I'm not wanting to break up 2.0 into multiple smaller releases, since a lot of the new features depend upon each other, and I want to avoid multiple annoying breaking change releases in a row. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I've broken and changed and moved around in 2.0, which is going to make it harder for other developers to quickly upgrade to. I'm trying to avoid making it too hard at the same time. That's the goal. So instead, I've now delayed version 2.0's release to occur sometime in the first half of 2024, ideally towards the beginning portion of that half. I think my goal now, don't quote me on this, it could change, but I think my goal now is for February or March for version 2.0 to come out. We'll see, because it also depends on where I'm feeling at that time. and how quickly I'm able to get some of this stuff done without dealing with like random BS along the way. Yes. But anyway, getting back to this. I've also been making various improvements to bug fixes to the code as I go along with making version 2.0, and I didn't want to sit on not releasing those for even more months. Also, I wanted to include support for the new shiny .NET 8, which just came out last month. So this is the solution today, another 1.9.x release. A lot of text. Let me see if I can break this up with some headers. Luckily though, this is more than just another smaller bug fix release. I was able to pull out one feature from 2.0 that doesn't really depend upon anything else, the transform editor for the property list control. I did a coding stream a long time ago where I actually did some initial work. I showed off initial work on the transform edit control, dialogue. And now it is all done. Now it is all done, and it's going to be put into here. WPF transforms are used to modify how an element/control is rendered, such as rotating it, making it skewed or scaled up in size, and more. And I've definitely accidentally rotated controls on Visual Studio's WPF Designer more times than I can count, but now you can rotate and transform them on purpose using proper tools. Another major thing that I did, more primarily just to challenge myself than anything else, is I went through the code and added in support for much older .NET Framework releases, even all the way back to .NET Framework 4.0, which is what we were messing with at the beginning of this stream. Honestly, adding support for .NET Framework 4.6.1 and 4.5 was relatively easy. The real challenge was .NET Framework 4.0. It did. But I did it, and without any tangible loss of features or functionality, minus Windows XP support, and with only a small handful of hair-pulling headaches. Only some. Anyway, now that this is out and into the world, I'm going to go back to continuing work on version 2.0. You can see my progress on version 2.0 right here on GitHub, and also the occasional coding stream that I have done. I apologize for the delays to getting 2.0 done, but I'm looking forward to showing it off all once it is complete. Once I have more to share about that new release date, I'll post about it on Mastodon. And specifically where I'm going to post it is .NET Social /@BigBird. This is my Mastodon account where I talk about my programming. It used to be a Twitter account, but I've moved off of Twitter and regressed to this. Instead, now it is here on Mastodon where you can see updates and also the occasional random ramble where I talk about stuff in programming or any other coding or programming related side tangents that I feel like going on that day. There's a new side tangent that I'm going to be working on and putting up pretty soon. That's for another time. given that adding support for .NET Framework 4.6.1 was so easy, I'm actually going to continue to support that. Oh. In the meantime, I hope that you enjoy this release. Next, allow me... Yeah. Keep in mind... Oh, how did I phrase it? Things to keep in mind for version 2.0. I'm gonna copy there.
I stay up so late, the sun is out.
Okay, so before I continue, I'm actually... So this is the part of the changelog that I didn't actually finish. Support for .NET Core 3.1 will be dropped in version 2.0. Yes. So you should upgrade to .NET 6 and 2.8 if you are going to continue using .NET. Experimental property list will be renamed to just property list. iSelectable collection source is being renamed to just iSelectable collection. Let's take a look at some of the other changes. Various event handler delegates are being moved out of classes and just into the namespaces directly. This won't really have an effect on actually handling events, only if you're making new events using my events.
I stay up so late, the sun is
Methods and classes that are marked as obsolete in this version will be removed in version 3. I mentioned previously that support for .NET 5 would be dropped in version 2.0. I've since went back on that. .NET 5 support will continue, even if it is an out of support release of .NET. Excuse me. Supported by Microsoft. Simply because I currently don't have a major reason to drop. Don't have any .NET 6 plus exclusive code that would benefit from dropping the 5 supports. Okay. Next. Tribute to Office 97. So this is just another random fun thing that I did. I enjoy doing random fun things, as you can kind of tell. So as you probably saw in the intro, I did create a kind of Office 97 style banner for Solid Shine UI, and I actually quite like how it turned out. I like this icon over here on the left, and I like how it actually, I recreated the word mark, and I think I did a pretty good job at it. This was just something fun. I noticed that 9.7 kind of is similar to like 97. That's literally the only reason why I really did that. I thought it was fun though. Alright, anyway, now that that is done, hold down for the fold change log. Boop. Yeah. And I think I might have mentioned it before. If I haven't, then I'll at least mention it on stream now. I know I don't know. Word 97, Microsoft Word 97 is actually where I got my start with programming years and years ago, because of the ability to do VBA code and make macros. And so for that reason, Office 97 really holds a special place in my heart that for most people it generally probably wouldn't. And kind of since then, as you can kind of tell, I really do have a fascination with Microsoft Office, and it kind of all started with that. So I thought making this little kind of a tribute type thing would be kind of nice. But yeah. So now, get it now. Full change. Oh, whoops. Copy. That's not exactly what it's supposed to be. There we go. So this part, honestly, for me personally, is the part that takes the longest, is actually putting all of this together. And I mean, as you can see, this has turned into a pretty long thing already. I tend to be overly wordy, I feel, when it comes to my releases. I tend to be overly wordy in pretty much everything that I write. Kind of a problem of mine. But this is the part I'm looking for. As far as I'm aware, there aren't any breaking changes. Although maybe... there shouldn't be. Technically, there is a breaking change, but it actually really isn't much of one. Yeah. Versions for .NET Framework 4.0, 4.5, 4.6.1, 4.7.1, .NET Core 8. This list has gotten ridiculous. Okay. There we go. And then there's something fun that I want to put in here. I like putting little fun emojis in here. So consume the library, put a little hamburger to like consume, eat. Is there anything else that I want to put? I think the answer is nothing comes to mind at the moment. Oopsies. Okay. Can I get this yellow part out of here? I guess not. I don't know. Well, whatever. So, I'm actually gonna do one last quick look at it. Do. There we go. Sorry, this is probably not quite exciting. It really isn't. This is kind of the boring part of building a release. Yay. Anyway. So now that that is there, you're set with that. Now, I can begin the fun thing of downloading, uploading all of these various binary things. So here is where I can actually put in, excuse me. So here's where things kind of get a little bit more boring, not boring at all. I'm finished with this box here. The text is actually done. Now I'm going to be down to this part. So NuGet, which I've explained, is available for like being able to download various bits of like C# code. It's one way for you to be able to get code. The other way that I provide to you is that you're able to just straight up download it here on GitHub. And to do that, I add support. To do that, I should say, I just upload everything into a little zip file. Are they always been this wide, this tall? I think this used to be narrower before. Anyway, zip add to .NET zip. Yay! So now we got all of these. This part isn't that hard to do. It's just kind of going through every single folder and putting this in here. Yeah. And then once these are all done, then I'm pretty much set with this release. This is not actually what I want. 4.6.2, I actually changed that by this moment, so now it actually, this is out of date. I'm going to delete that. Just so I don't confuse myself in the future. Place. And so then there. Now people can also get things this way if they don't want to use NuGet. Although I would probably prefer you use NuGet, because otherwise if you are trying to download from here, you need to know exactly specifically which one you need to go for. You probably do know if you're downloading this from here. But with NuGet, you don't have to think about it. You can just do it, you know. Okay. But I think this is set. So I'm gonna hit publish. And we're done with that. So now, that is the newest, latest version right here. Woo! And it is so long that on the main page it actually isn't all displayed. I made a very long release thing for sure. But it's good, it's out, it's here, and now people are able to just kind of download all of this. So that is pretty awesome, to be honest. Good with that there. So then, that's actually the two biggest steps that needed to be done. I got it uploaded to NuGet, and then I also posted the release here on GitHub. There are a couple other extra steps that I do need to do, primarily on updating my website. This part needs to be changed here to 1.9.7, but I'll do that later off stream, because I'm not going to be editing my website on stream. It's something I'd rather, well, the code is not open source, I'll say that, and also, I don't know, I have my own process for editing my website, and I'd rather just not bog people with that. That's the other big thing. The final, probably other major final big thing is, say, updating on social media. And putting on here that Solid Shine UI 1.9.7 has been released. This version includes updated.
I gotta unwind this narrative that I have, that I'm never ever gonna see. 'Cause that's just
the transform.
but I can't help to sing it to
Today, here. Hashtag that, not hashtag WPF, hashtag software. Hashtag release.
I gotta unwind this narrative that
version includes the transformative dialog for editing. Okay. And also works on the new .NET 8 and also some older .NET Framework versions. Take a look at https github.com/bigbird. This is UI I believe that is the whole thing there. Yeah. And then, to help with engagement, I will also put on this. Never mind. Okay. I knew this is something that I was going to have to do eventually, especially for uploading to, say, Instagram. I need to make a new version of this. Don't say. Okay. So as you can see here, this is a transparent background, which doesn't work if it's on a black background because it's a black text. So I'm gonna add on a layer underneath, white, and then I have to actually resize just straight up make this, oops, 500 by 500. That'd be perfect. Excellent. I don't know why I just copied it. That's fine. What happened? You know what? Whatever. I'm not sure what happened. Now I'm gonna actually save this as logo square. Boop. There we go. So now this will be more suitable for uploading to, say, Instagram and things like that. So here is Instagram and things like that. And logo and word mark for Solid 7 designed a very similar style to Microsoft Office. Metal Rabbit, say Mimic, designed in the same style that was used for Microsoft Office. Yeah. That is that. And that is actually that there. So then I will be actually going ahead and posting on all of my social media this pretty much exact text. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I need to make a version of this that isn't square. The height, we're gonna make it 200. Actually, 200. Sure. Okay, that way it actually is a bit more reasonable than this giant thing here. There we go. Much better. Wow. Anyway. So that is actually pretty much most of that. And that is the whole process of doing a release. It was a little bit more chaotic and not as just straightforward as it can be. But I also just kind of did a lot at the very last minute, I'll be honest. Really, in reality, the biggest thing that needed to be done was one, building the release here in Visual Studio, which is pretty quick to do. Like just changing this to release and then hitting go. And then uploading the new release up to my NuGet, which now has 1.9.7 right here. Perfect. Dum 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 dum. So yeah, now it is. I got distracted while doing an overview. Oh my goodness! Wow. So let's start that from the top. So the first thing you need to do is just doing the release here in Visual Studio, which is just changing this to release and hitting go, and then it just builds it. This is the actual code that gets shared out to everybody. Once I did a round of bug testing and other stuff, but I had done that in the week or two leading up to this right now, so that's already been done. Then the second thing is getting it uploaded here to NuGet, which it has now been done. The third thing is posting the release here on GitHub, which is now done. You can see right over here, version 1.9.7. This is it. It is done, it is out, it is here. The final things that I do after that is primarily just kind of updating everything else, such as posting on Mastodon, or what is this? Oh, cool. Or posting on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And now Threads. And so that's kind of the big things. And then also, of course, updating my website, but I'll do that another day. But that's kind of mostly it when it comes to actually doing a release. For larger corporations or things like that, things where it's not just a guy sitting in his room building a thing. There's a little bit more than that. Kind of actually getting the text, getting the little package DLL thing uploaded is really only like a small step as part of the bigger process. And of course, a lot of the things that lead up to a release, I did not show here. I had done in the previous things. Boom. Anyway, all the bug testing and stuff that I've previously already done, and that is what led to a couple of the last minute changes that I had done. I did do a little bit of bug testing on the stream, I suppose. But some of these other tech, like fixes, like doing these here, or some of this other stuff, was stuff that I did in the prior weeks while I was testing and getting ready for release. Honestly, just getting a thing built, like getting all the features in there that you want, that's only halfway done with getting the actual big thing of code finished. The other half is doing all the bug testing, making sure there's no problems, making sure it works on other systems, making sure it works here and this and that and whatever. The actual release is just a small part of that. And then for larger corporations after this, and actually leading up to this as well, you would have things like marketing, like, oh, X thing, version X is gonna come out on this day. And then afterwards you have marketing, version X is out now, you can get it. And there might be things like having to post proper documentation on here, and I'm actually gonna have to update this documentation. That's another thing I'll do another day. I don't feel like doing this at this exact moment on stream, because it is a lengthy and not exciting process. Because this documentation is based upon 1.9.6, and so I have to update it to 1.9.7. Anyway, what am I saying? Yeah. For larger corporations, doing a release, it'll involve a lot more of writing documentation like this, preparing things if there's like any breaking changes, like telling people how to do an upgrade from that earlier version to this new version. Things to get translated to other countries, things to other languages, I should say. And in fact, if you're doing international releases, if it's not being released internationally on the exact same day, then you also have to make sure that, get all the release times in order for other regions of the world, to make sure those are all set up and all that sort of stuff. So releasing can be more of a process with a larger corporation, but for me, as a single guy doing a thing, all that you saw here is all that it pretty much does, and then in fact all that you saw here is more than I have to do for a release, because there is a lot of random shenanigans I did at the beginning there. If I was properly prepared from the get-go, didn't have to do any final testing or last minute additions or things like that, and had all of this stuff set up and ready to just kind of go from the start, which I did have all this stuff set up and ready to go. This probably took me about maybe half an hour to write. these sections over here took more because this is actually like me having to come up with thoughts and words. This is just me going through the code that I had changed and describing it, which isn't that hard to do, although other people would disagree. But with all of that prepared and then getting all of this stuff ready, getting this stuff ready and getting this thing ready here, if I didn't have to pause or change things along the way or have to last minute fix or change things, then I can do this in about half an hour-ish. All the stuff that you just saw here on stream. Obviously, the stream was a lot longer because I did a lot more of having to pause to kind of explain what I'm doing, and also some like minor changes in regards to getting the NuGet package thing to work correctly. And it only somewhat works correctly, which is annoying. And some other stuff. I don't remember what I did on this stream. I should say I do remember, but like a lot of the details just kind of get lost. But anyway, but that is that. The release is out. It is ready for people to start downloading and using and doing. How many people have downloaded this now? Nobody. Great. Hooray. Yeah. I'm actually a little bit surprised with how much like downloads my thing has gotten. I don't know. What I don't know, honestly, is how many people are actually properly using this, or if this is somebody who has downloaded it, tried it out, and decided they didn't like it. I don't know. Nothing has come back to me in terms of people actually utilizing my things at all. I have gotten a single individual person who reported an issue here. And okay, what did I talk about with the text? Changed. Okay. Whatever. Anyway. But anyway, this is the only person who has reached out to me and being like, hey, I'm using your thing, but I need to fix it. So other than that, I have a handful of downloads here. I mean, like 200, some hundred isn't actually a lot, but it's more than nothing. But what other people are doing with my source code or anything like that, I honestly don't know. It would be interesting if I tried to do a search on GitHub. Let's see what comes up. Me. Somebody else. Oh, this is somebody who I think is just scraping all of NuGet for some reason. Me. Can I, like, filter out not me? No. gosh. That didn't exactly work the way I intended. I see. Okay. This is just the guy who I think is just scraping all of Nougat for some reason. Why? What is this? Why? Oh, he works for Nougat. I guess he has a reason, probably. I'm not gonna say I understand. Okay. So anyway, so yeah, that means that all these people who have downloaded this, I don't know who they are. Anything that they've done hasn't come back up on GitHub. So I don't know. Okay. I don't know who, if anyone, is using my library. I will be honest. I put a lot of time and work and effort into making this. I personally really like what I've done here because it's what I wanted. When I went set up to build my own UI library, this is what I got, and this is what I wanted. And so, yeah. And so I personally am quite happy and proud of this. I do personally like things. But if other people don't want it or don't need to use it, then I guess that's the case with them. I don't know. But that's where I'm at, I guess. Either way, this is all here now. The only real things that I have to do now is some of the stuff that I'm going to do after the stream, like I mentioned before. But other than that, we're going to get ready for 2.0. Excuse me. I don't know what it's talking about there, but okay, sure. Anyway. So next, version 2.0. So obviously on previous coding streams, we have done a lot of work on the ribbon, or I've done a lot of work on the ribbon, and I've showed it to you. And I would say right now we're about 33% done with that. And that will be a whole set of roles, etc. The other major thing that I'm building with version 2.0 is Avalonia UI support. So I've talked about before that WPF is the system that I use for .NET. For Solid Shine UI. This is the UI system that I use. And WPF is a specifically Windows-only UI system that Microsoft created for .NET and .NET Framework. So obviously that means that Solid Shine UI only works on Windows, which is not great. for people who are not on Windows. I know that Wine is a thing. I don't know how well Wine works with WPF, although I've seen some people test it with my library and it seems to work. But I haven't tested it, I don't know. But Avalona UI is basically, it's a third-party solution, but it's basically like WPF, but it works on multiple platforms. Originally, Avalonia was only going to be working on Windows, macOS, and Linux. But since then, they've also added on support for iOS, for Android, whatever this is. Samsung isn't like smart devices. And then they've also added on support for WebAssembly, so basically doing stuff in the browser. So, and Avalonia, part of like their marketing or something like that is that it's built to be easy for people to hop onto from WPF. In fact, they actually offer a paid solution for people who, for businesses that need WPF cross-platform and just need something off the ground right now. But for me, I'm building my own thing. Yeah, that's kind of like one of the big things that they market. And so Avalona UI support will help. Excuse me. Will finally make Solid Shine UI cross-platform. And the biggest thing with that is that it just kind of takes a little bit of effort to put together and actually do, because although Avalonia has a lot in common with WPF and is billed as the cross-platform WPF, there are some differences. And so handling those differences has been a thing for me to deal with. But it's been fun and it's been interesting. I actually just yesterday started with building Avalona UI support, so I quite liked it. And the other big thing is just a big, deep clean and spruce up of the code. Basically, that's the best way to just sum up the last little piece. A lot of what I've been doing is basically just kind of going to each of my classes, each of my controls that I've made, seeing what I've done, seeing how I can do things better, and then just kind of ripping things up and rebuilding it. Because 2.0 is the big thing. Like 2.0 is not just another small iteration upon it. Like 2.0 is 2.0, the big thing. I feel more confident in doing the that change. I don't know, in going ahead and doing all of those big changes and making all that big stuff happen. The thing with all the various 1.9 releases, 1.9.7, 1.9.6, 0.5, etc., is that because they were just a small change over here, 5, 6, 7, 8, is that anyway, is because this was such a relatively minor release. I didn't want to rock the boat with changing up stuff in case I changed things in a way that is like really big and major. But with 2.0, I have no concerns about that. I'll break everything and then fix it all over again. Excuse me. And so, that being said, I'm still trying. I still want 2.0 to be relatively easy to upgrade to version 1.9 from the 1.9 releases. So I am still trying to make it easier for people to still upgrade when 2.0 does come around, but I'm not being afraid to switch things up when I need to. And there has been a lot of switching things up that I have done. In some of my previous streams, you've seen me do refactoring of the sprinter controls. That's one stream. Most of the streams have just been working on the ribbon. But those are a lot of big things that are being done. And yeah. Other stuff that I've done though is I have completely gone back and redid the property list, which has been fun and is much better. And yeah, I've just kind of cleaned up a lot of stuff along the way, a lot of weird code, but like weird ways that I've thought about, that I've tried to solve problems that I had with my code, and doing it in ways that probably weren't exactly the best. That weren't wrong per se. There were not really wrong ways to do it, but not the most efficient and not the easiest to understand what I'm actually doing. It's fine. So yeah, honestly a big thing along the way with these 1.9 releases, if you really compare version 1.9.0 and what's going to come with 2.0, I've learned a lot about C# and about WPF than I did like throughout this duration. And while 1.9.7 is only a small snippet of what all the things that I've learned and been able to improve, 2.0 will be the big thing where I get to show off everything that I've learned and gotten better at. But yeah, so I am excited for 2.0. I'm excited to continue to work on that. I'm excited to get this Avalonia support off the ground and like really working. And I think that it'll be really good when it does finally come out. Hopefully, like I had said, it'll be early in the first half of 2024. I'm really hoping for like February or March, but I'm not going to hold myself to a date if it's not ready. So, yeah. But we will have future streams. We'll be doing more in future streams where I will be working more on the ribbon. Maybe I'll do a stream about Avalonia support. I don't know. Maybe I'll do streams about other stuff. But I'm looking forward to doing more of that and showing more of that off as we go on that journey doing that. And I've spoken previously about doing other streams other than coding, and I do want to get back to doing some gaming video game streams. And so I have bought this little thing recently. It's kind of hard to maybe see. The Shadowcast 2. I have the original Shadowcast. It's actually hooked up to this system right now, and so I do some other stuff. So I'm looking forward to using that to do actually more gaming, video game type streams in the future. Because now that I have this 2 version, along with the Shadowcast I already have, I can do multiple games at once. Ooh. That's a big thing I'm really looking forward to, is actually trying to complete multiple games at the same time. I think that'll be fun. Anyway. But that is pretty much it for that. Oh, hello! Yay! Hi! You just came on while I'm actually about the end of the stream. But hello, how are you doing? We finish up with this, and yeah, next is 2.0, and once I have more in mind as to what I'm going to be doing for the video game streams and how I'm going to accomplish them, there is some work that I need to do in that regard. Once I get more of that done, then I will get to share with that more. I feel like a lot of my social media has turned into just me saying like, hey, I'm doing a coding stream, which is technically a different topic. But I'd like to do other types of streams too. But also I need to use social media to post about other stuff. I just don't really post on social media anymore. You just want to say hi. Well, hello. I hope you're having a good night. Or good evening, good night. It's 10 o'clock. It's pretty much nighttime now. It's pretty much like straight up night. But yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking about in regards to that. I think that... Nope, I lost whatever thought I just had. I don't know. I'm looking forward to doing more. I have been enjoying doing so much of this programming lately and doing all of this stuff and getting stuff to kind of work. It's been a lot of fun for me. And honestly, the coding streams, I've mentioned it before, but the coding streams have helped out a lot in terms of just helping me stay on task. Because knowing me, otherwise what I do is I work on something for half an hour, and then I find something else that distracts me, and then I do that for 2 hours, and then I finally get back to doing the thing I was doing before. This stream was a little bit chaotic and a little bit unfocused at points, even still, but I did stay mostly on track of actually doing the thing that I wanted to do, which was getting this released and out the door, which I did accomplish. So, at least there's that. But I've been having a lot of fun doing this coding stuff lately. I got this 1.9.7 out the door and put that together in like the course of like a month or two. I got a lot of progress done with 2.0. All of these things here are things that these are not in the future things, these are things I'm in the middle of doing right now. And so, yeah, I've been enjoying coding a lot. It's been great. I know at some point I'm probably going to burn out on it again, because I tend to burn out on it, on coding after I do a lot of it. But I'm hoping, wondering, maybe thinking if I can handle doing coding in the right way, then, or like kind of like switch between doing, oh, let's do the ribbon for a little bit, and then let's work on Avalonia for a little bit, and then let's do a different project for a little bit. I can keep myself from actually burning out, and also at the same time being able to accomplish multiple things at the same time too. I think it helped out because I spent a bit of time working on my website for a month, and I think that helped me with stopping the burnout from the other projects that I was working on at that time. So hopefully I can keep doing that. Hopefully I can continue to do more coding and get this out ready as soon as I can, and get other projects out and ready as soon as I can too. I'm excited. That's all I have to really say. So at this point, that's all I really have to share with this. We did the things that we needed to do today. We got 1.7 released. It is out now. and I'll be doing the remaining social media posts later after the stream. And so we're good there. Otherwise, I will figure out when I'm gonna do a stream next. It's probably not gonna be for a little while. Let me take a look at the calendar. Thanks. Honestly, I don't know when I'm going to be able to do another stream next. Maybe towards the end of next week, like the 13th, 14th, or 15th-ish area. Not the 14th, like 13th or the 15th. Maybe let's aim for the 15th. That might be a good time to do a stream. And then after that, who knows? And I don't know, this might be a coding stream. Maybe I'll try to do a gaming stream on this day. I need to actually go back and finish Sonic 06. That was a thing that I've not touched in such a long time. And so now, Sonic 06, I'm gonna have to spend some time to actually get myself used to those controls again. And I think I'm still in the middle of a series of slogger levels. So whenever I do get back to Sonic 06, it's gonna be a journey. So I think I'll aim for a stream of some form on that day, the 15th. And we'll see what I do or what happens after that. Ideally, my goal is to do 2 streams per month. I might do one more stream maybe sometime in this weird section between Christmas and New Year's. We'll see. But for now, though, I've finished with the things that I need to do. Is there a way to make this like not such an ugly yellow? No, I don't think there is. Or what about it? Oh, that's something else. Oh. Oh well. Time font. Oh, whatever. That's fine. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you as well. If we don't communicate at any other point between then and in the future. What? Now and then, that's what I meant to say. But yeah. But I'm gonna finish up with this stream. So I will be doing that. I'm gonna take this phone call quick. Hello? Hi. No. No. Nope. No. Well, on Thursday I work from the office. On Friday I had off.
탕수육.
Yeah. Okay, so I will come. Oh, that's good. I will come down. Oh, I can. Let me just finish up what I'm doing at this moment.